Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about the thumb before we really get into the different motions and particular anatomy. Um, Thumb is really key. A lot of OTs see a lot of people with thumb issues in the clinic. Probably the two primary things you see around the hand on an everyday basis in an outpatient clinic as an OT are issues with fractured wrists, as we just talked about, and issues around the thumb. Why is the thumb always injured? We're going to talk about that in a minute. This is kind of the bony landmarks, parts of the thumb. You have to kind of go way down deep into your hand to get at those carpal bones, that scaphoid we talked about, and right on top of the scaphoid is the trapezium. It's not the best image in the world right here. We'll look at the other one in a second. But there's the trapezium, and then there's it's got like a little hollow hole in it, like a saddle joint that we'll talk about. The metacarpal sits on top of that. This is where all the problems happen, right between the trapezium and the metacarpal. Somebody gets thumb arthritis and thumb issues, thumb pain. And then coming up, there's a phalange. There's just two parts, the proximal and distal. And so you have your MP joint of the thumb and the IP joint of the thumb. There really is no DIP. It doesn't have the three joints like the digits do. This kind of shows you, again, why it's so vulnerable to injury. It kind of hits our theme of the more mobile a joint is, the more likely it's going to get injured, or they're going to come to you and be in pain and look for some help. And the thumb is highly mobile. You just take your thumb, you can just roll it all over the place. You can bend it up and down in that one plane, flexing and extending it, but you can, do that circumduction, all these different motions, and it connects to all these different parts of the hand. It's kind of rolling and gliding, and that trapezium, there it is right there, kind of rolls, sits in a saddle. That's what this is. It's kind of like a circle sitting in a little saddle right there. That's what they call it, the saddle joint, as it kind of rolls all over the place. Then there's another good image of it. There's a trapezium right there. And this is all arthritic. With arthritis, as you probably know, the joint just kind of attacks, the body just attacks itself, and the joint deteriorates, gets very edematous, very swollen, and very sore. And activities older folks love to do, like knitting, for example, can be very painful, and they'll come to you for help around that. You'll do a remedial and a compensatory approach to rehabbing their thumb. Usually it's that MP joint. And the CMC joint. Let me just go back to that. So this down here, this joint we're talking about, this is the carpal metacarpal joint. This is because this is the metacarpal. We know these are the carpals. So this CMC joint is the carpal metacarpal joint. Carpal metacarpal joint. This is where all the action happens. This is where all the problems are. So as we go into here, again, this is the carpal metacarpal joint. And here, this is the carpal metacarpal joint. This is the MP joint and the IP, but this is really key. And this is deep in your thumb. This isn't up here by your knuckle of your thumb. It's deep, deep in the base of your thumb. You palpate your thumb and circle it all around. Way deep in the base is that CMC joint, that carpal metacarpal joint. That's the one that's frequently diseased with arthritis and inflamed and all that. And sometimes it gets so bad that they remove it. They take it right out and they replace it with a different joint or an artificial joint in there, because it becomes so painful, especially with something like rheumatoid arthritis, which is a little worse generally than osteoarthritis. It can be a big problem. A lot of times as OTs, you're making splints, braces for this joint, so they can do things I like to do, like knitting, without so much pain. So again, that thumb is key because it's so mobile. You'll see that CMC joint creates a lot of problems. There's also other problems with the tendons coming up, which we'll get into in later classes.